Hello, everyone. Welcome to Public Stories. It is so great to be here with you. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Julian. I'm a resident artist here at the Public Theater and the director of this evening's performance. Thank you. So we are here this evening to showcase the incredible artistic work of the Public Works community. So if you are new to our community, Public Works is a major artistic program of the Public Theater. And we are all about bringing New Yorkers together from across the city to build community through bold, participatory art making. Yeah! So that looks like lots of different things. We have classes and workshops where we explore different theatrical forms. We see plays together. We make plays together, including every summer at the Delacorte Theater in Central Park. We gather for monthly potlucks and affinity groups, so there's a lot of amazing things that go on as part of Public Works. The cornerstone of our program is our community partners. So we are in long-term partnership with 8 community organizations from across New York City, and we come together to form Public Works. So those community organizations are DreamYard. Yeah, give it our DreamYard. Center for Family Life in Sunset Park. Casita Maria Center for Arts and Education, the Fortune Society, Military Resilience Foundation, Domestic Workers United, Brownsville Recreation Center, and our alumni partner, Children's Aid. So we are who we are because of our community partners, and I just want to say a huge thank you in particular to our partner liaisons. These are staff members at these community organizations who help us to facilitate these partnerships for over 12 years. So let's give it up for those partner liaisons. So just to give you a little bit of information about what you are here this evening to behold. So Public Stories is an expression of a years-long project that we've been engaged in as a community. So for the last 2 years, we have been exploring the art form of true personal storytelling. So how do you take experiences from your life and using artistic practices and crafting tools really shape those experiences into art, into performances that can be shared with an audience like you? So we've been engaging in classes on storytelling and solo performance. We've made video projects together. We've gathered for community story circles around different identities. And so what you're going to see this evening at Public Stories is an expression of all of that work. So all of the stories and pieces that you will see tonight have been developed over the last 2 years in these various workshop and community spaces. This is our very first time producing work like this at Public Works. It's our very first time producing work in Joe's Pub. We are so grateful to be here. While the clap train is going, let's just give it up for the Joe's Pub staff. Thank you so much for taking care of us. And so for our first performance like this, for our first Public Stories performance, we thought what better theme to center our evening around other than I Heart New York. Because we here at Public Works, we are New York City. As I mentioned, we come together from all across the city. And so all of the stories and pieces that you'll see this evening are centered around that theme. I cannot think of a better time of year to celebrate New York. It's finally spring. Can you believe it? I love spring in New York. I feel like we get about 4 habitable weeks a year in New York, and we're in it, you know? It's spring, and then it's too hot. It's fall, and then it's too cold. So let's savor this moment together in this season, and let's savor together this moment in this theater to behold these stories. So a couple housekeeping items before I bring our performers up to the stage. The first is that if you have not done so already, please silence your cell phones. And maybe even go a step further, maybe even airplane mode. Or if you can imagine, turning it all the way off. What a radical thing, you know? we want to be able to center these stories. We also have a live stream happening for folks around the world who want to tune in. So let's turn off our cell phones so we can really protect the sanctity of the space. This evening's performance will run about an hour and change without an intermission, just to give you a sense of how long you'll be seated for. And please do stay seated for the entirety of the performance. We've got wait staff coming around and taking orders and all that good stuff. So stay seated if you can. And I think that's all I have to say with you. Y'all ready? Beautiful. Well, I'm thrilled that you're all here. And without further ado, please enjoy Public Stories. What if every time you overslept, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time you went to the dentist, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time a loved one said they were proud of you, or every time someone spoke down to you at work, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time your train was delayed, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Or every time you bumped into someone you know on the street, oh hey, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Or what about every time the Yankees won, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time you was gathered with a crowd of people in a theater, sipping on cocktails, eating snacks, and watching someone on stage behind a mic, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Think about it.
I was born and raised in Miami, Florida, a beautiful, sunny, warm place, and part of me will always consider Miami home. But New York City, there's something about this place, these people, the energy. It's just always drawn me in, and I've always wanted to live here. So, after finishing college, I got my job offer from New York City, and I absolutely took it. I was like, yes, I'm headed to the place I want to be. Packed up my stuff, left Florida, said goodbye to my family. They told me I could always come back if anything went wrong, and I went up north. I actually moved to New Jersey first, though. But the job was in New York City. I had the paycheck, I had the expense account, and I even had a company car. And so the time came for me to start the job, and the night before, I think it all started to kind of hit me that I had moved in February. Very much winter, and I would be driving a car from New Jersey to New York every day in that weather. So the night before, I did what I could to prepare. I prepared myself mentally, I figured out the directions, and I checked the weather. Now, the weather forecast was a wintry mix. So I'm thinking, what the heck is a wintry mix? What I did was talked myself down a little bit and said, you know what, I'm gonna wake up early. I'm gonna leave a little earlier so I don't have to rush and be really careful. So that's what I did. I woke up early the next day, still dark outside. I got myself in the car, buckled up, got ready to go, and I started on my way. Now, one thing I didn't know at the time is that leaving early meant that the roads had not been salted yet. But wintry mix wasn't so bad. It was a little rain, a little snow, it was really cold, a little dark. I was like, I could do this. I'm taking my time. The roads look fine as far as I could tell, but I didn't know about black ice either. So about 10 to 15 minutes into that drive, all of a sudden, the traction of the tires went away. The car starts to glide and then spin and spin. And I'm starting to realize that I have no control over what's gonna happen next. I'm on this road alone in a place that I don't know a lot of people, and I'm spinning. And then bam, I hit a tree. And I'm kind of off on the side of a small ditch, and I'm checking, I'm breathing, I'm feeling like I'm okay, and I am. I call my supervisor to let him know what happened, that I'm okay, no one else is hurt, but I totaled the company car on day one. And he was like, oh, these kinds of things happen all the time, no problem. We'll have a rental car waiting for you at a local dealership. If you're okay with it, I can still meet you in the city, or you can take a day and I'll meet you tomorrow. I definitely needed that day. I took a moment to process, to get myself together, to talk myself out of whatever might be the other option, and I got back up the next morning, and I went to New York City. I drove there, and I did that the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and 20 plus years later, I'm still here. And you know, I've had a lot of jobs since then and experienced a lot of things in New York City. I've built a family and a community. But the thing that I hold dear to me is that energy, that resilience of people getting back up every day, over and over again, getting back out there, despite all of the trials, the unknowns, the tribulations, that I could do that. And today, I can officially call myself a New Yorker. Thank you.
It's August 6, 1984, my very first day in New York, and it's hot. I'm headed for a new job, handwritten directions clutched in my hand to get from 77th and York to Times Square. I walk down into the hellish bowels of the 6 train. And the platform is packed, absolutely packed, all the time, to this day. A train pulls into the station, and I'm thinking, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to get on this train. But I am swept by the crowd into the car, and worse yet, into the middle of the car, where I've got nothing to hold on to. All of a sudden, I am surrounded by people on every side who are just, like, crammed up against me. The only thing I can do is just kind of sniff. I can smell body odor, perfume, a fresh bagel, maybe fresh bagels, and a faint whiff of urine. The doors close, the temperature rises, and the train lurches forward. And all of a sudden, I pass out. I'm hit in the face with a blast of hot air, and I wake up. I realize, looking around, that we've only gone one stop, but it was the longest one stop of my life. I also realized I was incredibly fortunate being crammed into that crowd because I had no place to fall. My fellow New Yorkers held me up. When I finally made it to Times Square, coming up out of the subway, it was like walking into Oz.
I am 8 years old and I'm at Grenada Day. Grenada Day is a day where people from everywhere come into one big park and represent Grenada together. While I'm there, I noticed many different things. The loud music, all the people, the amazing smell of jerk chicken in the air. And I also noticed the colors of the Grenada flag, red, green, and gold everywhere. I'm walking with my grandma to see all the different food vendors. I turn my head for a couple of seconds and look back, and she's gone. I fall into a sense of panic, and I don't know what to do. I try looking for her. I know I don't have a phone, so I can't communicate with anybody. And everything around me, the music, the people, just make everything seem even more scary. I am just freaking out, but then this nice lady stops and offers me Skin Up, my favorite fruit. I sit there and I eat the fruit thinking that everything will be okay and that I know that my parents won't leave me anywhere. So a few moments pass by and my mom finds me.
It's 11 p.m. at night. I'm home alone, isolated from the world, trying to study for my psychology exam. And then I hear a set of keys at the door, and it's my brother coming home from college. We greet each other in a typical Asian manner, which is, "Have you eaten yet?" I tell him about this new taco truck that just opened up, and the two of us dash out the apartment with our empty stomachs but big appetites. On our way there, we passed by so many different restaurants, from the pizzerias, Chinese takeout, and amazing empanadas. There are so many different kinds of food in Bensonhurst. As I see the taco truck at a distance, I see the loud music blasting, the colorful string lights coming off the truck, and the amazing smell of tacos making our way. As we got there, I see other college students ordering and enjoying their meals as well. I thought I was the only one out here at 11 p.m. ordering food. After I order, I see the chefs making our food with such joy and the freshest ingredients. And as I take my first bite, I can really tell that the tacos are made with love and better than any fast food chain like Taco Bell or Chipotle. The next day, I take my psychology exam, and I pass with a 95. Until this day, I think the tacos are getting me that grade.
I'm 25 years old, and I'm at a dance at the Union Settlement Community Center in East Harlem. The lights are dim, food's on the table, DJ's playing, and I'm not looking for anyone. I'm not looking for love. And then this tall chocolate brown man comes toward me, and I say, "Oh, wow, what a tenderoni." And then he says, "Hi, Frida." And I'm like, "Charlie, is that you?" He doesn't look anything like the Charlie I knew when we were kids. So we start talking, chit-chatting, reminiscing about the 7 years since the last time we saw each other. And we're just focused on each other, locked in, just talking and talking for what seemed like hours. And then toward the end, he says, "You know, Alfreda, you're my soulmate." And I say, "Soulmate?" to myself. Well, I don't know what a soulmate is, but it sure sounds good. And then he says, "Can I walk you home?" And I said, "Sure." And 2 years later, guess what? We got married.
sitting on a bench. You know, we were having our dinner, getting ready to go back to resume our position on the stage for As You Like It. And I'm talking to this woman, this beautiful woman. Monica is her name. We get into talking. We heard each other's accent. And she said, where are you from? And I say, I'm from Trinidad. She said, me too, I'm from Trinidad. She said, where are you from? We both asked each other, where are we from in Trinidad? And she said San Fernando, and I said San Fernando. And we started to talk, you know, really dialogue about people we know in San Fernando. Mind you, I'm from the deep countryside in Trinidad as well. I grew up with my grandmother, I grew up with my aunt. So I said to her, do you know Cynthia Billy Montague? She said, yes. She said, the fashion designer? I said, yes. She said, that's my cousin. I said, well, that's my aunt. Then she said, Spiri. I said, yes, Spiri is my mother. She said, well, that's my cousin. I said, well, I said, you know what? We're both cousins. Would you know that? I mean, she comes from the Brownsville community, and I come from Domestic Workers United. But understanding that in this play, As You Like It, that we're true cousins, blood cousins, for the first time knowing this, in the history of the pageant, I mean, it's her first time, and I've been here for about 10 years. But what is the odds of that happening? We're cousins, hello, in a community. Isn't that big? That's big, big. Hello.
As I entered the intensive care unit of the hospital, my 11-year-old mind was not ready for what I was about to experience. As I entered, I saw this myriad of tubes and wires and hooked up to machines, and as I followed that silhouette, there I saw her, mi mommy. And as I approached, she was awakening, and what she was about to tell me totally shocked my world. She asked me, ¿Quién eres? Who are you? Ana Maria Arteta Altamirano would never be the same after open heart surgery. The amnesia that she suffered totally changed the lives of myself and my 4 siblings. From that moment on, we would have to rely on ourselves to do what we needed to do to get by. So immediately I decided I gotta get a job. So I decided, let me go bag some groceries at ShopRite. It was the only job I can get, and I was so thrilled. I made $20 in my first visit to ShopRite. It was a fortune. I had enough money to buy a pin. So on my first adventure, I went to Sears and Roebuck to buy a pin to inflate my basketball. And as I was walking, there it was. It was just a board with a rim that someone had hung behind Sears and Roebuck, and there was nobody there. Now, some of you may be saying, you really need to go out a little bit more. Why is that so big? When you grow up in Union City, New Jersey, the most densely populated city in all the United States, to find an empty basketball court, good luck. Add to that my nickname was Chiquito, which means shorty. Now, I had handles, I had good shot, but I was just vertically challenged, if you know what I mean. So finding this oasis, oh my goodness, I could practice being ambidextrous, because it was on that court that I learned to use my left hand. It was on that court that I would take the Afro-Cuban salsa disco beats in my head and transpose them on the pavement, because after all, basketball is about rhythm. It was there that I learned about competition, but most importantly, I learned how to get into the zone. I learned that no matter what happened, no matter what my opponent, no matter what was going on the court, I was free. And I didn't have the cumbersome memories that just had happened in my life. And then in the middle of this basketball ballet, of looking at this I see a young gentleman approaching, and he says, hey, you want to play? And I said, sure. I looked at him. I evaluated him. He was a little bit husky. He was a little bit on the heavy side, but I was like, I'm much quicker than you. I may be little, but I think I could beat you. So we proceeded our basketball ballet, and boy, was I feeling it. Oh, it felt so good. It was one of those multicolored days that you just see. It was so bright. The sun was out. And in the midst of all this, I heard this screech from across the street saying, hey, fatso, your stomach is bigger than the basketball. And to my shock, I was like, what, who is that? Why would they say that? What's going on? Anyways, I tried to concentrate on the game, and as we were playing and we proceeded to play, the barrage of insults started. Talk about fat shaming. Man, she put my opponent down. I must confess I did use the psychological advantage to win the game. However, what happened afterward totally shocked me even more. I asked him after winning, do you want to play another game? He was like, nah, man, I'm not doing this again. I can't do it. And I just said, yeah, brother, I understand. And it was at this moment that I heard, psst, psst. And it was coming from across the street. There were two girls across the street. One of them Latina, the other one was a white girl. They were dressed like the Dukes of Hazzard with their tube tops and their little short shorts. And then the white girl comes to me and goes, psst, psst. I reluctantly crossed the street, and I'm like, what in the world do you want? You interrupted my game. And she said, I have something to ask you. Do you think your friend likes my friend? I said, excuse me? My friend thinks your friend is cute. Could you ask him? It was at this moment that it makes an 11-year-old ask some pretty existential questions, if you know what I mean. And so I went and I told my friend, you're not even gonna believe this, but that girl that was screaming at you, she says that she likes you and she wants to know if you like her. And to my amazement, he goes, I think she's cute. I had no understanding. This was a game that I did not know the rules of. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, at 11 years old, I learned two very important lessons in life. Number one, life is so unpredictable. What you know today as your existence can change in a nanosecond. So you might as well suck the marrow out of life today. And secondly, when indulging in this thing called romantic love, it's just a little bit crazy. And with that, I learned a lot at the age of 11 years old. Thank you.
Hi. Hello. Thank you. My story began in 1989. I was just released. I was out on parole. And so this day, I took the A train because I was going to keep that appointment with the parole officer. When I got down to the station, I knew the lady in the token booth. And so we usually, kick it for a while. I'll bring her coffee or something, and we talked for a minute. And this day we did the same thing. And I said my goodbye to her, and I went down to get on the train. A train, by the way. As I got down there, it was about midday, so there wasn't a lot of traffic. there were people getting off, and so I got on the train. But there was a scuffle going on, and everybody was running to that cart. And so I sat and I saw two women actually fist fighting. They weren't pulling hair and stuff, they were fighting like men. You know, so I saw this little kid, and the kid was getting too close to the area where you cross from one side to the other. And that little kid was about 3 years old. He could have fit in that hole. Anyway, that's what came to my mind. So I got up, grabbed the kid. He was crying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy." So I knew, I'm in Latin, by the way. So I knew that he was calling for his mother. And so she was in the middle of a fight. You know, so I grabbed the kid, and I sat him down, and I said to him, "Don't move. I'll go get mommy. Don't move." So now I made that promise to the kid. I turned, and I'm saying to myself, what am I going to do? I got to get in the middle of this fight to break it up. So I'm going to get involved in the fight. So that's exactly what happened. I had to get in between them, and I had to get real physical with them. So one fell on the chair, on the seat. The Latin lady, she got up, ran towards her kid, and she ran towards the conductor. The other lady is a white lady, and she fell on the platform. So here I am thinking that he saved the day. I went to give her a hand. She started cursing, calling me all kind of black this, black that, and words that I don't even want to repeat today. You know, and by the time I could react to what she was saying, the police came. And it just happened to be 3 white cops. So when they got there, I didn't even have to explain anything. I was in handcuffs. They put me in handcuffs. They took me up. As we was going up to the street level, we saw the lady in the booth. And she's yelling at them, "Yo, yo, I know him. What's happening? What's going on?" And they just waved her away. Anyway, I ended up in the precinct. In the precinct is when I found out that I was charged with an assault. All right? So remember, I just finished doing time. So an assault doesn't look too good. All right? So the lieutenant, he told me, "Listen, you're going to have to charge her with assault and see how this thing work out." And so I had no choice. I had to agree. I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't going home. All right? So I ended up going to Rikers Island to wait for a court date. All right? Court date was a couple of months away. Somehow or the other, God will, I was called on an early date to go back to court. So when I went to court, they started treating me different. You know, they took off the handcuff, and I wasn't set in the area where you're going back to Rikers Island. I was set in the area where you might be released. All right, so the judge came, and she said to me, "Young man, I'm sorry about what happened, and you're free to go." I said, "Yeah, Your Honor, good." I raised my hand. You know? I said, "Thank you. You know, but here's the problem, Your Honor. I'm on parole, and me just being here is a violation. That means I'm going to be locked up." So she says, "Well, come to my chambers," and I waited for a minute. I went to the chambers with her, and she wrote a note for me to take to parole. And I said to her, "Your Honor, you know something? If you were involved in a situation right now, or anyone else, I would think twice before I get involved. Thank you."
He vivido en Estados Unidos 30 años, no conozco el país, incluso no conocí aquí el parque. Estoy muy contenta de que me hayan invitado al show de As You Like It. Es la primera vez que bailo, nunca había bailado y estoy muy contenta.
Well, I was raised in the South Bronx, so being able to come to Manhattan for rehearsals really allowed me to see people with different sexualities, different genders, different race, and because of that, I was able to finally find my true identity and be comfortable in my own skin.
"50 years ago, I served in the Vietnam War, and when I came home, just like other veterans, we were not welcomed. In the show, As You Like It, I was in 5 years ago. In the middle of the song, in Arden, the audience stood and cheered, and I did feel welcomed."
It is a beautiful sunny day in August. It's my first rehearsal at the Delacorte Theater in Central Park. I'm full of excitement. As I exit the subway station on 81st Street, I see the sign for Public Works The Tempest, so I know I'm going the right way. As I cross the street, I look to my left, and I'm stopped in my tracks. I see the Diana Ross Playground. I used to go to that playground with the kids I nannied in 2006. I remember the swings, the slides, the sandbox. I remember feeding the kids there, changing diapers. I remember sitting with other nannies, talking about our hopes and dreams, things we wanted for our future. As I take my eyes off the playground and I look ahead towards the Delacorte, I'm thinking how never I would have imagined back then that I would be performing in front of 1,800 people nightly. I close my eyes and reopen them while smelling the trees and flowers and also the vendors' pretzels and dirty water dogs. The sense of New York City's Central Park. I guess they're right. New York City, concrete jungle where dreams are made of. There's nothing you can't do.
I'm traveling with my family to New York City for the very first time. I'm 10 years old. We arrived at JFK Airport. My Aunt Lida picked us up. Aunt Lida volunteered herself as a local tour guide. Aunt Lida brings us to pretty much everywhere in New York City, including the Statue of Liberty. We arrived at the Liberty Island. There are a lot of people waiting to get inside the Statue of Liberty. The stair is very small and everyone had to walk very slow pace because it is really crowded. As I get to the top of the Statue of Liberty, I look out through the window. I see New York City. It is very blurry. it looks like an abstract sketch. And then everyone has to walk slow pace down because it is so crowded inside. I thought everyone there are people from New York City, but Anlita told us that they all are travelers from other countries. By the way, did you know that there are more tourists that come to see the Statue of Liberty than actual people who live in New York City?
It is a beautiful morning in the Bronx. And I'm running late for work. I had this gig in New Jersey at the New Jersey Dental School in Newark. I had to teach bedside manner to the dental students as a standardized patient. The stuff we have to do to make a gig, get a little bucks, right, as an actor. So, okay, I'm running late. I'm on the Cross Bronx Expressway. I'm on the George Washington Bridge. I look up, there's a sign that says bridge closed. Like, what do you mean the bridge is closed? I'm driving on the bridge. I look on the other side, that bridge was closed. Those people were not going anywhere into Manhattan. But I'm running late, so I keep going. I get to the New Jersey Turnpike, and I look, and all these people are pulled off to the side of the road, out of their cars, and they're looking back at Manhattan. So I do too, because I'm nosy. And bam, a plane hits the World Trade Center. It was a collective gasp, and people were talking, but I didn't hear them. All I could think was, oh, that poor pilot. How did he not see the World Trade Center? I get back in my car. I turn on the radio, and I learned that the world had turned upside down. And I was alone in New Jersey.
Okay, so I'm in the Bronx on the 19 bus with my mom leaving my elementary school. A brother and a sister that I tutor get on the bus along with us, and they sit 2 seats in front of us. 3 stops afterwards, a guy comes on, and he acknowledges the siblings. And I know it's not their parents because I met them, and they always go home alone together, right? So as he's talking to them more, I noticed that he's mostly acknowledging the little sister, not really acknowledging the little brother. So I'm guessing his stop is coming up. So as he gets up, he touches the little girl's shoulder. And as soon as I see him touch the little girl's shoulder, I scream at him, "Who are you? Why are you touching her shoulder?" Then that's when my mom comes and she's screaming as well. The little brother says, "No, no, no, that's her teacher." The next one, me and my mom look at each other. We was like, oh. And then we started calming down. And then that's when the teacher says, "I'm sorry, I'm their teacher. I was just saying goodbye." Then that's when my mom says, we just had to make sure because we know these kids and we know they always go home alone together. And the teacher says, "And I'm glad you said something because not many people would in this world." Then after that, he got off his stop.
Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in the mid-1990s. Thank you, Patrick. There was a fir tree blight here in New York City. There was a fir tree blight, and what that meant was, when my brother Dan and I went out to get our Christmas tree that year, a lot of the Christmas tree lots that were usually open never opened that year. And the ones that were open, they had like little trees and they were kind of spindly and they were kind of expensive. They were like 5 feet tall and they were like $80. So Dan and I were like, oh, what are we gonna do? So we went up the east side, down the east side, up the west side, down the west side. Went out to Sunset Park where we knew a place, but it was the same everywhere. There were just not that many trees and they were kind of crummy and expensive. So it came to pass, lo and behold, it was the week before Christmas and we still didn't have a Christmas tree. And Dan and I were like, oh, what are we gonna do? And he remembered this place up in Peekskill in Westchester where we had gotten a tree once. And we were like, let's go up there. So we got in the car, we drove up to Westchester, West Side Highway, 9A, all the way up, Route 6, over into Peekskill. And we came to the spot where that Christmas tree lot had been, and it was empty. It was just a muddy lot with snow in it, same as everywhere else. And we were like, what are we gonna do? So we stopped in a diner. There was a big diner up there. And it was like 4:30 in the afternoon. It was totally empty. And we sat in the back and we were like drinking coffee and smoking cigarettes like used to do in diners. And Patrick knows. And just like, should we like go out in the woods and cut down a tree? Is that like the thing to do? And I look out the back of the booth, out the window, and I see a Christmas tree lot. And it's like set back from the highway behind this like swimming pool supply place. And you know it's a Christmas tree lot because it has like the swooping lights. And I grab my brother's arm and I'm like, ah! And he grabs my arm and he's like, ah! And we throw some money on the table and we run out of there, we get in our car, we peel out, we peel back in, and then we're in this Christmas tree lot. Now, this was like a classic Christmas tree lot. It was like the swooping lights and the tinny Christmas music, and there was like a steel drum with like scrap wood burning in it, and there was like that little construction hut where the guys make change or whatever they do. But most of all, it was full of the most beautiful, fresh, green Christmas trees of every conceivable size and shape. And Dan and I were like so stunned. It was like the first time you go into Wegmans and you see like, you see like the 8 kinds of wings and you're like awed, right? So we went through this Christmas tree lot and we like touched every tree and we like had a discussion about every single tree in the lot. And the trees had like that colored tape that showed what the prices were, but there was no sign saying what the colors meant. So we had no idea how much they cost. Anyway, we get to the back of the lot, we've touched every single tree, and leaning against a chain link fence in the back is this beautiful Christmas tree. It's like 8 feet tall, and it's perfectly symmetrical, and there's no holes in it, and the needles are fresh. And Dan and I are like, that's the one. So we go to find one of those burly Christmas tree guys, and Dan's like the front man. He's like the negotiator. So he goes up, and the guy's like, can I help you? And Dan says, yeah, you know, what do you want for like that old one in the back, you know? The floor model, what do you want for that one? And the guy looks at us and he goes, what do you got? And Dan says, well, you know, I could let you have it for like, I mean, I could give you like 40 for it. And the guy looks at Dan, and he looks at me, and he goes, like audible sigh, and he goes, okay, talk to the boss. And he points to the construction hut. And Dan and I, we look over at this construction hut, and sitting at the top of the stairs under this bare white bulb is a gigantic black dog. So Dan and I, you know, we look at the dog and we look at each other and we look back at the guy, And Dan says, talk to him? And the guy's like, yeah, talk to the boss. And he walks away. So Dan goes, and he walks over and he walks up the stairs and he starts talking to the dog. Now, I can't hear him because I'm nowhere near him, but I can tell that he's talking to the dog because his arms are going up like this. He's like down, he's like begging at one point. But after about like 2 or 3 minutes, my brother comes back. He walks by me. He does not make eye contact. He goes up to the guy and I like scurry after him. And the guy's like, so, did you talk to the boss? And Dan goes, yep. And the guy says, so what did he say? And Dan says, he said we could have it for 40. And the guy goes, all right. And he walks to the back of the lot and we trot after him. And he gets to the back of the lot and he gets this beautiful tree, puts it on his shoulder, brings it up, puts it through the tree squisher with like the plastic mesh, cuts the end off, brings it out to our car, puts it on the car, ties it on the car with that pink waxy twine. My brother gives him 2 20s, tries to give him like a few dollars tip. The guy goes, Merry Christmas. And he walks away. So Dan and I, we get in the car and we don't say a word. And we pull out, we pull onto Route 6, and we're driving along. It's dark now. And, you know, there's like snow in the woods. You can see into the woods even though it's dark. And we're driving along with this beautiful tree on top. And all of a sudden, my brother bursts out laughing. Now, my brother has a very distinctive laugh. This is what it sounds like. So, of course, I start laughing too, and we're just rolling along laughing with this beautiful tree like 4 days before Christmas. And, you know, we don't buy our Christmas tree together anymore because we're all grown up now. And I never did ask him what he said to that dog. Thank you.
I retired from the New York City Health and Hospital Corporation in 2019 after 37 years of service. And one of the first things I did that summer was join the Brownsville Recreation Center. In October, I joined their acting class. I hadn't acted since elementary school when I had acted in many plays. So one of the first assignments we had was to write a story about our childhood. And I told the story about the hot, hot summers that we used to sit outside and we used to play, look who's here, Punchinella, Punchinella. Look who's here, Punchinella in the zoo. And almost all of the acting class join in singing the song with me. That was so amazing. That is one of the most precious moments of being part of public works that I have.
When I was 22 years old, I graduated college and moved back home to my childhood apartment. Now, mommy was moving out. She was on to bigger and better. She was doing her own thing. And me and my best friend and college roommate, Sam, we took over the apartment. This was a ground level apartment just above the basement on Gun Hill Road in the Bronx. Now, that's right. Now, I'm grown. I'm working, I'm paying bills, I'm having house parties. You couldn't tell me nothing. And I'm sure as hell not running to mom and dad for any little thing. So one night, me and Sam throw a party. We got pizza, we got friends of friends. It's going great. At the end of the night, I go to sleep, and I wake up the next morning ready to clean from the shenanigans of the night before. So I walk into the kitchen, and I open up the cabinet underneath my sink, and to my surprise, I see some pizza crust chilling on top of my Clorox. I'm like, wait a damn minute, who put pizza crust here? Who would disrespect my house like this? Not in my house. I pull Sam, I pull the whiteboard, and I'm like, we starting an investigation. Okay. We start calling all the friends. We're like, did you see anything suspicious? I don't know, that one chick was acting kind of weird. They think we're crazy. They're like, listen, don't have parties no more if you're gonna act like this. Weeks go by, we never find out who put the pizza crust under the sink. So I'm at work now, and I get a call from Sam. Now, if you know Sam, you know she ain't calling nobody unless it's serious. So I answer, and I'm like, hey girl, what happened? Sam is a mess on the other line. She's saying she's out, she's leaving the apartment, she's going to stay with her parents. And I'm like, whoa, girl, we in this together. What are you talking about? She's like, you won't believe what I saw. You won't believe what I just saw. I'm like, tell me. She tells me that when she was in the kitchen minding her business, a 2-foot-long rat jumped out of the garbage and tried to attack her. Oh, hell no. Not my girl, Sam. I tell her, stay there. You're not going to your parents. We grown, okay? I got a plan. I grab my coat, I race out the door, and I go to meet her at the apartment. When I arrive, I got a large bag of these industrial-size, extra sticky rat traps. And I say, okay, here's the plan. So right outside of our kitchen is a narrow hallway that leads into the living room. The plan is that we're gonna cover the hallway with these extra sticky rat traps. And we're gonna lure the rat to the hallway to get stuck. Now remember, we in the Bronx. So we got weapons hidden all over the place, okay? So we grabbed the bat, we grabbed the hammer, we grabbed it all, and we were ready and prepared that once the rat got stuck, we were gonna whack it, okay? That's the plan. So Sam, me, and my cat yes, I had a cat the whole time, and you would have thought this cat would have caught this rat. So Sam, me, and the cat, we're waiting in the living room. We're staying up all night, and just after midnight, we start hearing some rustling. So I look at Sam, it's time. And then as we lean in closer, we notice that the sound changes. And now I'm having PTSD. I'm like, wait, it's sounding like I'm at my wax appointment. It's here. Whoosh, whoosh. And I look closer, and I cannot believe my eyes. This brolic-ass rat is charging towards us, pulling itself off of these straps, leaving patches of fur behind. It's nearly bald now. It got murder in its eyes. It's coming for us. We freak out, okay? The bat's missing. I don't know where our cat went. We're screaming, we're terrified, we're climbing on each other. We can't be the first one to get eaten, okay? Like, we're screaming, we're crying, and then Sam yells, I'm calling my parents! Fine, call them! Within minutes, they're on their way. And me, Sam, and the cat, we get to escape to her parents' house for a few days. But wait, there's more. So while at her parents' house, I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? I might really have to ask for help. This might be that moment where I don't think I could do this right by myself. So I called my dad, who knew a guy, as dads do. And they were able to come and they were able to kill this rat. That was the size of a cat, let me tell you. And eventually Sam and I and our cat were able to come home, but you know we didn't stay there. The moment the lease was up, we were out. And since then, I've moved several different places. I've even changed boroughs. But I love to look back on this story because this time reminded me and taught me a valuable lesson that no matter how grown I think I am, I'm never too grown to ask for help. And I'm never too grown to lean on my community of friends and family to support me through challenging times. So, thank you.
What if every time you ordered a good old bacon, egg, and cheese, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time it's showtime on the subway, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Or every time you walked through Times Square, you heard a loud ringing in your ear? Would you silence it, or would you make it louder? What if every time you looked out your window at sunset and saw the sherbet sky draped between sparkling skeletons of illuminated scrapers, and there goes that ringing? Or what if you're just up right before sunrise, everything is calm, you witness a quiet calm right before the chaos of the day consumes you, and there goes that ringing? Do you silence it? Do you make it louder? What if I told you that our city was just a lot of sound, a lot of ringing, and you get to choose to silence the moment or to make it louder?